The first episode begins with the premiere of Vought Studios' superhero movie, Dawn of the Seven. It can be seen that the center of the city is on the verge of total collapse. Homelander goes face-to-face with Stormfront, who wants to get allegiance. She dreams to create a master race of flawless Aryan children, with Homelander as her partner in crime. But Homelander's declined, so the rest of the Seven join the fight, and it's an all-out brawl against Stormfront. The Dawn of the Seven's red carpet premiere at Vought Studios is then revealed. Meanwhile, both Hughie and Starlight have a constant smile on their faces as they appear on screen after screen. But suddenly, amid the celebrations, a well-known chill appears. Homelander casts a shadow, serving as a reminder of his authority. Then an array of interviews is shown in which Homelander attempts to deny all the claims of his involvement with Stormfront. He seems embarrassed being linked to Stormfront and says it's a mistake to every network, sounding like a broken record. Concurrently, Hughie walks into the men's room after a wild encounter between the director and Ashley, who is now the Vought CEO. There, he bumps into Butcher, who's working with a new crew on a mission for Hughie and the Congresswoman. Billy tells Hughie they're ready to take down a soup they've been tracking, just waiting for the green light. Hughie hesitates because he's still waiting for Newman's okay first. With Billy being used to being in charge, he pushes him to make a decision. He told Hughie up front that they can't waste time and told him to man up. Hughie agrees to let them hit the soup's party, with the strict rule of photos only. Termite is revealed to be the supreme target. Vought's take on Ant-Man, Termite, is that he's just another superhero who uses superpowers for specialized interests. The boys sneak into a gathering to witness Termite, a miniature version of himself, dry hump a doll inside a dollhouse. Concurrently, Kimiko discovers a girl improvising a piano arrangements and decides to join her. But when it becomes clear that everything is inside Kimiko's head, this moment is destroyed. Kimiko leaves as the girl, Tyler, introduces herself. Peter asks Termite to get inside him in a literal sense. The Termite contracts, hops across a few cocaine lines, and enters Peter's insides. However, Termite's doings is interrupted as he senses a sneeze approaching. He tries, but is unable to contain it, so with a sneeze, Termite shrinks back to his former size, forcing Peter to erupt and explode blood. When Frenchie walks into the room and sees the blood, Termite shrinks down once more and tries to climb up Frenchie's butt in an attempt to explode him as well. Luckily, Butcher was able to mend the situation. Termite is eventually bagged and shaken around in a cocaine bag. Meanwhile, a video clip from the celebration shows Butcher using the Amazon app to order a Connect 4 game. It seems Butcher, over the game, makes up with Ryan, Becca's son. The kid, Ryan, still has nightmares about Homelander, where he kills him and sets everything on fire. Mallory tells Butcher that Marvin got out and advises him to give up the life of soup hunting in order to concentrate on Ryan as he leaves. Indeed, Hughie's leadership at the Federal Bureau of Superhuman Affairs has Butcher in a rage. So upon the discussion of the Termite incident by Edgar, Butcher blatantly accused Hughie of having connection to Vought. Butcher is also coping with the death of Rebecca as he's departing from the boys. Meanwhile, Kimiko tries to play the keyboard as Butcher and Hughie argue. Then, with his resolve growing as the tea kettle whistles, Butcher returns home and watches the heartbreaking Homelander and Maeve flight footage. At Vought, Stan summons Homelander and Starlight to a meeting to discuss Starlight becoming a co-captain of the Seven. It turned out her unprecedented approval rating went 96%. Of course, Homelander becomes enraged with the info when he explains that she would have actual authority to make changes from the ground up in this role. While filming a new movie, Hughie is informed by Starlight about the chance to be the co-captain. In the end, she accepts to share the captaincy with Homelander because she believes that being the first female co-captain and an inspiration to millions of females is more important than her loath for Vought. So, Homelander was about to throw a tantrum anytime during your photo shoot. In another scene, a near-death collision with A-Train exposes his obvious fragility. Later, Homelander pays him a visit to the still-alive Stormfront, expressing his disgust of her rank. Meanwhile, Edgar and Robert, the Secretary of Defense, talks about Temp V, a unique variety of Compound V that has a full-day effectivity. Queen Maeve then meets with Butcher and provides him with details regarding Soldier Boy, a superhero believed to have perished in 1984. As Butcher read the documents, he learned that BCL Red is believed to be the reason why Soldier Boy is said to have died. So, Maeve proposes that they could beat Homelander by using BCL Red. She also handed Butcher a vial containing Temp V. After a while, when Butcher is ready to release the Temp V, Homelander shows up at his window. He's let him in. They both feel abandoned and cut off from their initial objectives, but for once they are on equal footing. Homelander then suggests a last man standing fight just between the two of them, putting aside all other circumstances. But Homelander tells Butcher that lasering him would be like killing an already injured dog, to which Butcher replies, "He's the coward one with tails between his legs." In a polar opposite, Huey is in his most stable and happy state being with Starlight. They are in love. He's now living normally, creating smoothies, getting up early, and FaceTiming his father. Huey also went to his job at the FBSA, where his envious co-workers consider him a bit of a celebrity. A man named Tony approaches him in the lobby and informs him that Newman's true name is Nadia and that he is her closest friend. He was about to say more, but he's taken out of there swiftly by security, which raised curiosity to Huey. As Huey exits the FBSA building, he witnesses Tony contacting Newman and addressing her as Nadia. Like any other would do, he followed them to an alley, where Newman recognizes Tony but still said she is not Nadia anymore. Tony brings up something called Red River, pleading with Newman to come clean now that she has a platform and that people must know what happened to him. Newman pretended that accepts and wants to give him a hug before using her powers to kill him instantly. But just when he's about to get killed, to which he believes is when he detects a nosebleed, Tony identifies himself as a soup and flings her off. He strikes Newman, causing her to fully unleash her abilities and blast Tony in a cloud of flesh and blood. It ended with Huey's shock when he discovers Newman is the head exploder. Homelander's upcoming birthday celebration is being marketed and broadcasted everywhere. While watching these, Billy Butcher takes hold of a vial of Temp V and muses of injecting it. Butcher's decision to maintain the Temp V is also influenced by Homelander's challenge. But as he went over his options, his TV mirrors his inner thoughts and anxieties. After giving Temp V a shot, Butcher became enlightened and now more goal-oriented. Afterwards, Butcher meets with Mother's Milk to discuss his plan. The boys plan to find out what killed Soldier Boy and use anything they could find to finally defeat Homelander. Meanwhile, Butcher, Frenchie, and Kimiko are investigating Vought's 80s superhero team, Payback, which includes Crimson Countess and Gunpowder. They try to persuade Mother's Milk to join them in the fight, but he refuses as he's now with his family. Mother's Milk is afraid of meeting the same fate as his father, who died fighting Vought. After Butcher leaves, Mother's Milk lays out a collage of newspaper clippings on his bed related to Soldier Boy. It seems he also has a plan on his own. Meanwhile, Butcher visits the annual firearm exposition, sponsored by Vought, to discuss Soldier Boy with Gunpowder. The one giving a speech on the Second Amendment, Gunpowder warns that left-wing socialism might result from Dakota Bob Singer being president. After that, Butcher then confronts him in the restroom regarding a mistreatment that Soldier Boy endured from them. Gunpowder refutes Butcher's accusations, but he showed him a paper that quotes Gunpowder and describes Soldier Boy's issue of abuse. Butcher threatened him that unless he revealed Soldier Boy's true story, he would disseminate the document. The hard-headed Gunpowder then chose violence than to submit to Butcher's orders. He fled and attacked him in the garage. Luckily, Butcher just escapes with his cheek shot by setting off car alarms. Concurrently, Frenchie and Kimiko visit Voughtland in the hopes that the Crimson Countess can tell them information on Soldier Boy. However, Kimiko's inability to communicate normally is reflected in her continued childlike wonder at everything. As they try to talk to Crimson Countess backstage, she runs away. She also caused a larger issue when she inadvertently exploded a Homelander statue, splattering blood all over the park. Now, during Homelander's annual birthday celebration, Starlight is requested to sing Happy Birthday out of the blue. Starlight tries to decline because she sees it as rude, but Homelander instead demands a more scandalous version. As he has no plans to give up, Stan Edgar steps in and gives him a hard reality check. Edgar told him how 76% of viewers are coming in for Starlight, not for him. Given Homelander's PR problems this past year, they almost didn't want to continue the event. After this, Ashley and her manager Seth planned a meeting with A-Train to talk about reliving his image. Hence the idea. A Train to Africa will be a documentary series about his family's trip from Africa to Vought Tower. The second concept is an interactive learning experience on the slave trade. A Train was not liking it, taken aback by the lack of zeal. Hence, Seth and A-Train ended up arguing about their pride of roots and representation. Earlier, when Stormfront is visited by Homelander, he asks her to blink at least if she wishes him a happy birthday. She didn't blink. However, she didn't even shed a tear as he walked away. Later, Homelander had to talk a suicidal girl called Chelsea as part of his celebration duties. At first uninterested in his efforts, Chelsea plays a crucial role when breaking news surfaces, exposing Stormfront's horrific suicide. Homelander's mood changes, obviously affected by the news. It resonated to his treatment of Chelsea. He rants about how his birthday is a marketing plan, sharply equating himself to Jesus and wondering why, given his false creation, he is still venerated. In a disconcerting turn of events, he provokes Chelsea to leap, to which made the girl scared. She makes a catastrophic leap that stuns everyone, including Ashley and the waiting camera team. With Huey now discovering that Victoria Newman is the exploder, who makes the decision to look into the Red River Institute. There he learns that it's a facility for superhuman individuals. He also encounters a guy named Teddy, who is the teleporting son of Madeline Stillwell. Vanessa becomes concerned when she sees Huey because why else would he be there? Still, Huey makes up a lie to not cause more suspicion, saying they are thinking about adopting a kid. With his excuse, he gains entry to the computer area and uses a USB drive to retrieve files. When he gets home, he looks through Newman's files and discovers graphic pictures of her parents, who have had their heads severed. In a shocking revelation, he saw in an interview that young Nadia was adopted by Vought CEO Edgar. Meanwhile, Butcher sees a clip with a voicemail from Becca, warning Ryan not to eat too many cookies and says she'll be home soon. Getting in the moment, Huey called him and revealed that Newman is actually a soup. Huey told him they need to fix the situation through Butcher's leadership yet again. When Gunpowder shoots him, Butcher doesn't seem fazed as the bullets pass right through him, now more powerful with Type E. Finally surrendering, Gunpowder speaks, telling Butcher that the abuse from Soldier Boy was through hazing and that Death's story was made up. And although Gunpowder knows himself they are collaborating with Grace, he maintains his ignorance regarding Soldier Boy's true death. As he seemed to know lies, the powerful Butcher uses his super eye lasers to chop off Gunpowder's head to murder him. Concurrently, at Homelander's birthday broadcast, a citizen yelled his connections to Stormfront and her passing, probably attempting to make him vulnerable. But he knows, Homelander grabs the mic and declares that he is strong as God. This is the height of his disintegrating public character, as he is screaming against attempts at control. To end, another character named Todd, Monique's boyfriend, is shown with his eyes fixed on the television with Homelander. A flashback is seen with Starlight, at 17 years old, getting ready for the Little Miss Hero pageant with her strict mother. Even though Starlight's side hurts, her mother gives her encouragement by telling her that pain is just weakness leaving the body. Starlight then went dancing as her mother directed her motions watching her. Starlight showed her anguish after the show, trying to conceal her closed fists. Presently, Starlight watches the video of Homelander's speech during his birthday celebration. He is talking about his true goals for the world, hoping it may reach those with like minds. Ashley then tells him that his base's support has increased by 21 points. He realizes that this bold approach has paid off. Meanwhile, with Mother's milk back, the boys are getting back to their old ways. Huey has indeed learned from the past, now putting up a contrast for Homelander and moving to a new headquarters in the Flatiron building. Since Victoria Newman's identity as the head exploding soup was revealed, his newly acquired reputation from his work at the FBSA was almost completely destroyed. Huey has grown through these difficulties and is now able to laugh off Butcher's comments against him. Butcher tells the group that their next task is to talk to Grace in order to get all the information regarding the potential Homelander weapon. Huey quickly shows his dedication by asking Kimiko to break his arm so he can leave work without raising Newman's suspicions. Kimiko dislocates his arm. Fast forward at the safe house, the boys encountered Mallory and Ryan. Mallory is then questioned by Butcher on her suspicious actions in Nicaragua, which he learned with Gunpowder. A flashback takes place from 1984 when Mallory had Operation Charlie that aimed to gather money to fight Sandinistas. It was learned that the younger version of Mallory managed a cocaine trafficking ring and used all the money for additional weapons. She told them that their motive was to sell the cocaine exclusively in minority neighborhoods. It was seen that in Vought's superhero team called Payback's Era, the government added superpowers to the mix in 1984. The choice was supported by Soldier Boy and a young Edgar, who still has the same calmness of character as he does now. He made it clear that reinstating superheroes into military operations was the trial of bringing in Payback. Suddenly, a teenage Black Noir from Payback is shown having arguments with Edgar regarding his heroism without a mask. The superheroes attempted to counter the powerful soldiers during an assault in their own base, but it ended up wounding some of them. Meanwhile, Black Noir had serious facial injuries following the fight. Now in the present, Mallory says that she lost 116 soldiers and Vought was granted some kind of total immunity. Crimson Countess reveals to her that Soldier Boy was killed by the Russians with a purported soup made to kill those with Compound V. Butcher is enraged that Mallory concealed this information for such a long time. He feels that Ryan wouldn't have to live in constant terror, Becca could still be alive, and Homelander might already be dead if she had told him sooner. Because of this, Butcher goes back to mourning Becca and is now more determined to kill Homelander. Mallory tried to stop Butcher, saying that he is following a father-like, self-serving mission. Butcher somehow radiates his anger towards Ryan, who is Homelander's blood relative. He approaches the kid as he's leaving and Ryan violently walks off, obviously hating him for his actions. Meanwhile, the Deep and his wife Cassandra return to his room for a private moment after meeting with Homelander and Starlight to confirm the Deep's place in the Seven. The Deep suddenly shifts his focus from Cassandra to the octopus in his fish tank. Afterwards, Homelander throws a festive supper with a lot of seafood. There's the Deep grudgingly consuming lobster, but suddenly his friend octopus named Timothy is cooked and served. While Cassandra wants Homelander to eat the octopus, he pushes the Deep to eat Timothy. Left with no choice, he devours his octopus partner alive with guilt. Focus again on Butcher, who went full super with a Temp V now begins to have some negative side effects. He noticed that he frequently pauses in the restroom and bends over the sink while still having residual eye laser activation. It reaches its top when Butcher throws up the Temp V right in front of Huey while they are having an honest talk about what he said to Ryan. Before the boys went on their new mission to obtain the soup gun, Frenchie told them that he is unable to accompany them because of something more important. Following his encounter with Cherry, he learns that she has resumed her employment with little Nina. Cherry says that when Nina's goods were stolen, she was handling it. Frenchie is later taken hostage by Nina's troop and delivered to her. After failing to kill Frenchie, Nina accuses Cherry of stealing heroin from her. It turns out there's a hang of romance in their earlier love involvement, which dates back to Frenchie's time working for Nina. Then, Supersonic is informed by Starlight that Homelander is a dangerous psychopath prior to the American Hero season finale. She begs him to think of someone else as the winner of the show, but he requests some time to think about it. Concurrently, Homelander offers a fresh plot point for the program where the Deep will have reunion with the Seven. Starlight is offered a diamond dolphin necklace by the Deep as a peace offering, but she turns him down and throws him out. Starlight confronts Homelander using the footage from Flight 37. Homelander, probably fed up with the threat, states a terrifying paradox during a critical moment. Losing everything would mean having nothing left to lose. He paints a terrifying picture of devastation, threatening to destroy vital infrastructure in entire towns. He told them that he can do whatever he damn well please. Supersonic then informs Starlight just before the American Hero broadcast that he would still be joining the Seven in spite of her caution. After she stands by him, he feels that he owes it to her. To the dismay of the other participants, Starlight declares Supersonic as one of the winners during the tape, while Homelander names the Deep as the other. Starlight does her part and accepts the Deep's apologies. Homelander sees this as an opportunity and adds one last twist. He says he's in love with Starlight. Producers laud this story twist as Starlight survives in stoic shock. They ask for a retake in which Starlight, grinning now, embraces her part and gives Homelander a kiss. She remembers her younger self, which has been gripping the fist and burying her nails in her skin. As Soldier Boy performs on TV, Mother's Milk becomes uncomfortable when the lyrics discuss cars. He becomes more and more angry, clutching his chair, and remembers an unfortunate event in his life. He imagines his younger self playing with a toy automobile while his family looks on. The tragic fate of Mother's Milk family, who he claims were slaughtered by Soldier Boy, has been alluded to in the program. Meanwhile, Billy Butcher and Huey get into a fight regarding Temp V following Butcher's green vomit. Huey is told by Butcher that he killed Gunpowder and that he has been using Temp V. Huey is then warned that he will be put into a coma if he informs anyone. In an attempt to negotiate for Cherry's life and to learn more about Soup Gun, the boys meet with little Nina. Butcher proposes to give Nina $100,000 to replace the medications that were lost. She accepted it, so long as they perform a task for her in the lab. Off they go. The boys went to Russia, where they discover anti-superhero graffiti that depicts the suits as brutal killers. Kimiko is given the task of killing Nana's target by Butcher, but she declines, stating that she is not a tool. Butcher responded by belittling Kimiko, saying she's indeed a tool, which everyone noticed. Mother's Milk, offended for his colleague, then challenges Butcher about his alarming actions. In response, Butcher told them about why he brought Mother's Milk to the group, stating that he selected him. He also told them that they considered him a natural-born leader to take care of the boys. As a nearby Russian oligarch is getting ready for a dirty party, Kimiko shows up at his estate. The oligarch opens a cabinet and displays 3 unusual sex toys inspired from Black Noir, the Deep, and Homelander. Kimiko then selects the Black Noirs and uses it to stab the oligarch through the mouth and neck. Using the different dildos, she defeats 4 more men. One of those has a Starlight motif that vibrates after impaling a man in the face. When one of the prostitutes on the bed shoots her, they thought she is over. But all of a sudden, Kimiko rises and regenerates, making the girls shrink in terror. Though she's trying to convince them, they are still afraid because they witnessed her tearing apart the guys. So she weighed the tension between her desire to be a better person and to retain her identity as a vicious killer. She glances down at her hands that are coated with blood. Her weaponized strength and her newly discovered sense of self are at odds. Meanwhile, Frenchie agrees to accompany Kimiko to Marseilles after their current mission. However, Kimiko tells him that she can't do it anymore after the massacre. She explained that working for Butcher feels like an extension of the Liberation Army and that he doesn't value them anyway. Concurrently, Butcher injects himself with Temp V before going into the Russian lab carrying the anti-soup weapon. Huey then asks Butcher for some, but Butcher told him it's a punishment to have. Hence, the boys went into the lab and discovered a supercharged hamster in a weird chamber. Suddenly, an alarm sounded all over the place and created chaos. The gang saw Butcher's superhuman talents in action as they tried to repel the armed guards with Jamie's assistance. And since Huey has it now too, it's his chance to show off his teleportation abilities from Temp V till a gunman arrived. Leading them, Butcher opens the entrance to the mysterious chamber after the boys defeat the men. In a shocking reveal, a bearded soldier boy emerges from the smoke. He took off his gear that is fastened to him and went out. Then, like nothing, he exerted a burst of red energy while light glowed on his chest. Accidentally, Kimiko is struck by the blast and falls to the ground, but her body somehow won't recover. She lost despite the boys' best efforts to revive her. Mother's Milk told Butcher that he's done and there's no teamwork anymore. Meanwhile at Vought, Homelander asserts in an interview that he is the target of a mysterious organization probably pertaining to the boys. Stan Edgar talks with Victoria Newman to talk about his strategy for controlling Homelander's increasingly unpredictable behavior. Edgar plans to pay Homelander fees and issue a reprimand for statements he made at the birthday celebration. On the other hand, Newman is dubious and concerned for the security of both her and her daughter Zoe, while Edgar is certain that he can keep Homelander under control. Newman went from Edgar's script and placed the responsibility on him at a news conference. She said that Edgar will be the subject of an investigation for obstruction of justice and other big cases. Then, she approaches Edgar after the session and tells him she needs to keep Zoe safe. After the press, Homelander pays Newman a visit to give the adoption papers and implies that Edgar will only use her as a weapon. Newman stops him and asks if he has it or he's just messing. Homelander then gives her a little bag that appears to contain something. Afterwards, Newman consoles Zoe as she sits beside her daughter's bed. She then reveals the bag contains a vial of Compound V, which she injects into her daughter. A train seems to be into social justice concerns by having a commercial about the energy drink called Turbo Rush. Meanwhile, Starlight bravely asks the Seven to plan a possible counteroffensive against Homelander. Maeve is consulted by her regarding PCL Red, which is said to be a formidable superweapon. Maeve admits that she was part of Butcher's scheme. However, Maeve rejects Starlight's offer as she doesn't see it as something possible. So Starlight asks another person, Supersonic, if he would fight Homelander. Luckily, Supersonic affirmed he's more than ready. During an encounter with the Seven, A-Train proposes suspending Blue Hawk for excessively monitoring districts populated by black people. Meanwhile, the Deep speaks up after receiving a text from his wife Cassandra. The Deep notes that Homelander and Blue Hawk have a similar support system, therefore projecting a Strongfold image is not a good idea. A Train and the Deep quarrel in the hallway about A-Train's waning influence within the Seven and the Deep's return as a biased member. A-Train punches the Deep in the gills, starting a skirmish that causes tensions to rise. Homelander drops A-Train on the ground and assists the Deep in getting up. A-Train is stopped from following Homelander by Supersonic, and they converse in the elevator. A-Train is then by Supersonic about Starlight's scheme to topple Homelander. So during an event at Vought, Homelander asks Starlight to take a flight home with him. Seemingly romantic, he leads her out onto a terrace where Supersonic's severed head is on display. Homelander reveals that A-Train told him of Starlight's scheme to murder him, and Homelander threatens to hurt Huey if Starlight crosses the line. It was revealed that Slavik Rogozin, the scientist, performs this cruel experiments. Soldier Boy boards a cargo plane headed for New York City in the present. He has a flashback as he arrives and hears the same music on a truck's radio. 19 people are killed when Soldier Boy explodes from his chest. Upon witnessing Soldier Boy's outburst on television, the boys pay a visit to the Legend, who serves as the show's introduction. The Legend reveals that Soldier Boy just came to see him in search of something called the Crimson Countess. Before Soldier Boy gets to the Crimson Countess, his former girlfriend, the boys intend to intercept him. At the initial Vought Company meeting, Homelander takes the helm following Stan Edgar's removal. The new board of Homelander thanks him for restoring honesty, integrity, and innovation to the company. But when board member Maureen presses Homelander about possible drops in EBITDA, his cocky personality got the best of him. Homelander's fleeting anxiety of losing all control is revealed by Starlight's expressive face and fast eye movements. That dread soon fades though as he snaps back at Maureen sarcastically. The Deep, who succeeded Barb as the new head of crime analytics, is expected to have impressive credentials, including some degree in criminal psychological science, with fluency in 4 languages and previous experience with the FBI and NSA. The boys are still satirizing the Trump administration. After Barb announces the Deep's new position, he gives a statement outlining his goals for the department. It appears that Cassandra is still having an impact on the Deep because she is heard mutely repeating his statement about exerting effort to accomplish. Huey then gives Starlight an update on Russia and the Soldier Boy predicament, highlighting his dedication to honesty, a quality Starlight believes should be basic in their relationship. He acknowledges using TempPV and says it gave him a confidence boost he had never been able to get before. When Starlight calls Huey's drug use irresponsible, he vows to stop. When Frenchie sees Kimiko in the hospital, she is overjoyed that her stomach wound hasn't healed, a sign that her superpowers have finally faded. Her incapacity to raise an heavy machine verifies that her abilities are genuinely lost. Later, Kimiko stops the movie and looks at Frenchie as they watch a scene from a classic musical. "I Got Rhythm," she sings gently, setting off an impromptu, coordinated musical piece. Fukuhara takes the lead with a brief appearance by Capon. Percussive bedpans and rhythmic defibrillators accompany her. For the time being, at least, this grandiose scenario offers a cathartic ending to Kimiko's anxiety. Nevertheless, it is eventually revealed that this was all just a vision in Kimiko's head. Following A-Train's unintended disclosure of Supersonic and gain of Homelander's trust, they meet with Blue Hawk to talk about overzealous police presence in black neighborhoods in Trenton. Blue Hawk consents to apologize and shows up with A-Train at a Trenton Community Center to make an official apology on tape. But with a clumsy apology and a $10,000 donation, the crowd lets it be known how unhappy they are. A-Train's brother Nathan is among the audience members that Blue Hawk attacks in a startling turn of events. Later, the doctor at the hospital tells A-Train that Nathan is paralyzed for life. Meanwhile, Blue Hawk is wrongly portrayed as a hero in a TV news program for allegedly defending against an armed threat at the community center event. When Queen Maeve brings Butcher a new batch of TempV, they engage in a thorough discussion on the substance's effects on superpowers. Maeve kisses Butcher and their contact becomes passionate as Butcher concludes, "With great power comes the certainty you'll turn into a real jerk." Afterwards, Maeve admits to Homelander that she has always hated him, calling him a malignant, paranoid narcissist who believes that he is the center of the universe. Homelander laments their relationship, saying their love countered the loneliness of fame. He said it was lonely at the top, but at least they had each other. They were lonely together and he loved her. Maeve leans in, showing sympathy for him. All of a sudden, he accuses her of working with Butcher, saying he can smell him all over her. In an action scene, Dark Norse suddenly attacks Maeve and the screen fades to dark. Ashley is then confronted by Starlight regarding Maeve's disappearance. She told her that Maeve is at Vought's wellness retreat in Malibu. Ashley then unconsciously showed her actual scared sentiments as Starlight worried about Homelander's actions. "Being CEO isn't worth risking your life," she said. She also pauses, then gathers herself enough to rebuff Starlight. When the boys get to Crimson Countess' residence, they discover her in the middle of a session with Sith or Circumsalot 779. Butcher then tells Crimson Countess that Soldier Boy is alive and on his way after subduing her. She acknowledges that she was aware of Soldier Boy's survival earlier. Mother's Milk describes the strategy, which is based on Russian experiment recordings and involves rendering Soldier Boy unconscious with anesthesia. Unexpectedly, Starlight appears. Huey tells her he couldn't stick to giving up the green juice while showing her his teleportation skills. Then, he clarifies that, for once, all he wants is to keep Starlight safe. However, Starlight assured him that he doesn't have to do all that. Meanwhile, Soldier Boy is getting closer to the scene. Butcher gave MM a narcotic because he knew he wouldn't comply with the real plan, which was to make a deal with Soldier Boy by giving up Crimson Countess in return for using him as a weapon. Crimson Countess responds to Soldier Boy by pledging that she assisted in his capture. Even though Soldier Boy expresses his love, Crimson Countess uncannily mimics Maeve's confession. As Soldier Boy's chest light gets brighter, the Countess's estate is leveled by an explosion. He climbs out of the debris and goes to join Butcher. Huey informs Starlight that their tool against Homelander is Soldier Boy. Now, Huey and Starlight's relationship, which has been damaged and reconstructed several times, breaks again. In the last scene, Starlight's pleas for him to stay, Huey leaves with Butcher and Soldier Boy, leaving just Starlight and an unconscious Mother's Milk. After Huey and Butcher selfishly decide to join forces with Soldier Boy, they have been serving him in a motel room. They fed him with hamburgers, even drowned him in beer and benzos to keep him happy. Soldier Boy has decided to seek more than just revenge against Vought after discovering that his kidnapping in Nicaragua was a setup. And as long as Soldier Boy helps take down Homelander, Butcher and Huey agree to assist. After they reach an agreement, Butcher searches for a lead. Meanwhile, Homelander is horrified to learn that Soldier Boy is still alive at Vought Tower. He gives Deep, the last surviving employee of Crime Analytics, the instruction to keep it a secret. Should it come to public that Soldier Boy is a villain and still alive, Vought and Homelander may not survive. Homelander actually had actual fear for the first time. Rather than taking care of it alone, he dispatches Deep to track down Soldier Boy and the boys. Homelander runs from Crime Analytics, confiding in Black Noir, his most devoted comrade. And as usual, Homelander finds great satisfaction in Black Noir's blank face and lack of words. However, as he is a former teammate of Soldier Boy, Black Noir knows he's in a huge trouble. So to escape from the situation, he got a knife in hand, removed his tracking chip, and went away. Then, Homelander goes back to his flat where he speaks quietly to himself in the mirror. His dark side begs him to give up his humanity and accept his destiny as an unstoppable god. Next, we visit Kimiko in the hospital, who is upset and perplexed by Frenchie's abrupt departure following their much-anticipated first kiss. She is unaware that he was abducted by Little Nana's men, not that he left her. She texts him a nice message to offer another date, but Little Nana orders a Russian thug to kidnap her. Meanwhile, Starlight joins Mother's Milk in the meantime. As anyone would be, she is in a spiral after Butcher deceives her once more. Mother's Milk is preparing his weapons, prepared to pursue Butcher rather than Soldier Boy. And even with Starlight's best efforts to talk sense into his head, he seems to want a rampage. Starlight is dealing with a lot of strain, and a private conversation with Newman is not what she needs. However, Newman begs Starlight's assistance in exposing Vought and eliminating Homelander. But since Starlight is already fed up of sacrificing her morality in order to prevail, she turns away. In another scene, two superheroes who are fraternal twins who were once teammates with Soldier Boy are discovered at TNT. When the Deep arrives first, he finds a huge orgy with superheroes and prostitutes, a soup party. Known for having a weak will, Deep gives in and takes part in the stunning revelry. Concurrently, Kimiko awakens strapped to a chair beside Frenchie's former partner, Shuri. The Frenchie she's looking for is now tortured and naked, standing in front of them. It turns out he is subjected to additional torture by Little Nina, who staged this graphic incident and made him select between Kimiko and Shuri. Before he can make a choice, Kimiko and the other two manage to escape and vanquish Little Nina's troops. Unfortunately, Little Nina manages to get away too. Before Soldier Boy comes and the situation degenerates into violence, Starlight and Mother's Milk discover the orgies and decide they must evacuate the house. There, Huey encounters A-Train while conducting surveillance, which further complicates the situation. Huey eventually approached A-Train and demanded an apology for killing his lover, Robin. In a shocking return, Huey is stunned to hear that A-Train genuinely apologizes. It turns out A-Train is aware of the repercussions of his actions after witnessing Blue Hawk render his sibling disabled. Huey punches A-Train in the face. Suddenly, Starlight breaks up the fight quite swiftly. In an attempt to shield Starlight from what is approaching, Huey teleports her outside the house. However, the two get into a violent fight that seems to be the end of their romance while they are both nude. In the meantime, Mother's Milk confronts Soldier Boy for killing his family when she witnesses him enter the orgy. Soldier Boy asks him which killed them angrily, and it makes Mother's Milk angry. He gets ready to fight, but Butcher intervenes and begs Soldier Boy to spare him. And it seemed to make sense. Soldier Boy says he's there to kill TNT, not just any old guy, and turns to leave. On the other hand, TNT begged for their lives and held Black Noir accountable for the treachery. Knowing Black Noir, Soldier Boy isn't convinced with the lie. However, a familiar song triggers Soldier Boy's trauma and causes him to lose control of his powers. This leads to the devastation of the home and everyone inside just as he is about to murder TNT. Meanwhile, A-Train discovers Blue Hawk as the bloodied survivors stumble to their feet. He grabs the racist Soup in retaliation for his brother and drags him down a highway at top speed until Blue Hawk slowly dies. And since he has a health problem himself, A-Train's heart gives out due to too much effort, leaving him lying on the road. In a superheroic scene, Homelander lands amid the house's debris. Seemingly the climax of the story, Soldier Boy and Homelander engage in combat. But just when it appears that Homelander is winning, Butcher and Huey reveal themselves with their own powers. Together, the three manage to temporarily subdue Homelander, but Homelander flees as Soldier Boy gets ready to kill him. When everything settles down, Starlight goes live on Instagram to share all the details about Vought, his comrades, and more. She resigns from the Seven and signs off under her true identity, Annie January. Ashley, Vought's current CEO, is seen furious with Annie's videos disclosing the company's trade secrets. She's desperate to save the company from all the allegations which are true anyways. So in an attempt to mend it, she informed this guy named Coleman that Annie is associated with the Liberation Army and used her relationship with Kimiko as proof. Now the headline turned into human trafficking issue linked to Starlight instead of focusing on the company. Homelander expands on these claims by saying that Starlight heroism is a front for a human trafficking ring. To add more to his manipulative idea, Homelander momentarily created a hallucination of Soldier Boy in the crowd during the rally. Now the legend resurfaces and takes the boys to his home while they decide how to proceed. He tells Huey that Soldier Boy never served in the military and links him to assassination, shootings, and such unlawful acts. Now, Huey, Billy Butcher, and Soldier Boy decided to get a lead to Mindstorm, the superhuman with the capacity to read minds. After learning from the legend that Mindstorm suffers from bipolar disorder, Huey starts looking for hints, such as prescriptions for lithium. They went to the wooded cottage belonging to Mindstorm. Soldier Boy created a disclaimer that he should avoid making eye contact with Mindstorm. However, not long after, Butcher and Mindstorm lock eyes as Soldier Boy sets off a smoke bomb. Butcher passes out and experiences dark flashbacks of the mistreatment he and his younger brother Lenny endured. In their room, Lenny and Billy were playing three-card Monte when all of a sudden, their father began shouting at Lenny. He said that he had abandoned his bike on the front lawn. Lenny went into the closet, and Billy hurriedly took cover beneath the bed. Billy cleared his throat to take Sam's mind off of looking in the closet. Billy's darker side, which he finds difficult to control, is embodied by Sam through foul language. On the other hand, Maeve is found alive and held captive by Homelander. Homelander seems vulnerable and shows real dread for Soldier Boy. He keeps postponing killing her by stating that he wants to gather her eggs. Maeve relishes this moment, remarking saying that seeing him scared makes her day. Meanwhile at Vought, Ashley recounts what happened as A-Train awakens in a hospital bed. It seems Soldier Boy attacked them at Herogasm, killing Blue Hawk. After receiving Blue Hawk's heart, A-Train will shortly fully recover. Ashley also talks about his upcoming movie, which is a grim biopic with Tom Hanks playing his trainer. Back at the cottage, Butcher reflects on his difficult past, at which point Soldier Boy persuades Huey to proceed and enter Mindstorm's cabin. Another stage in Huey's gaining confidence comes when Soldier Boy reprimands him for worrying about Butcher. This makes Huey wonder if Soldier Boy really experienced storming the beaches of Normandy and fighting the Nazis. Enough to convince him, Soldier Boy punches Huey. Butcher, meanwhile, keeps seeing images of his younger self getting into problems for selling marijuana. Michael Ripley, his headmaster, worries that Butcher will follow in his father's footsteps. Then young Billy mimics his father's passionate thrashing of him by grinning and grabbing a stapler and slamming it into his headmaster's face. Later, Sam brings Billy and Lenny to a pub. The old Butcher tipped his younger self not to follow in his father's footsteps. While driving to what appears to be a retreat, Huey and Soldier Boy run upon a nun and a priest. Soldier Boy offers to assist mend their broken-down automobile, but then shoots the priest. Huey first questions his assertion that Mindstorm has inspired everyone in the area to attack them, but the nun later betrays her concerns by biting his neck. After shooting the nun, Soldier Boy tells Huey that it is a part of being a soldier. They go to Mindstorm's lair, where Huey subsequently teleports Mindstorm back to Butcher in an attempt to wake him up. When young Billy enlists in the military, leaving teens Lenny and Sam behind, Butcher's inner turmoil starts. Fearing that Billy will be left alone with her father, Lenny begs Billy to stay, but he declined coldly. Presently, it is now Billy begging Lenny to change his mind. When Lenny grabs a revolver out of the kitchen cupboard because he feels abandoned by Butcher, Lenny tearfully told him that he's cursed of killing everyone that will try to love him, accusing Butcher of replicating their father's neglect. Butcher can only watch in despair as his brother ends his life. Soldier Boy attacks Mindstorm as Butcher wakes up from this nightmare, and Mindstorm explains that Vought gave Black Noir permission to kill Soldier Boy. In a nasty move, Soldier Boy beats Mindstorm with his shield. In a shocking reveal, the specifics of Soldier Boy's attempted murder is laid out. Black Noir is found living off baked beans at the theater area where Buster and his friends used to perform animated musical acts while hiding out in an old Buster Beaver's pizza restaurant. A parade of cartoon animals, including Buster Beaver himself, is encountered by Black Noir in this scene. Black Noir uses Buster as a way to face his history, with his reflections taking place in a playful cartoon environment. In this scene, a black sheep represents Black Noir, and an eagle represents Soldier Boy. Black Sheep Noir joins Payback for a training session and lets out his resentment at Eagle Soldier Boy for ruining his opportunity to work as a cop by telling producer Don Simpson falsehoods. Black Noir is violently attacked by Soldier Boy, who accuses him of lacking the comedy skills for the part and tells him all sorts of demotivating lines. Black Noir then learned that Homelander will be replacing Soldier Boy, who is being transferred to another country. It turns out Payback approaches Soldier Boy in Nicaragua only to turn him around. Black Noir is hurt by Soldier Boy, who then exposes the real him. When Soldier Boy tries to flee, Crimson Countess employs a cartoon fox to sedate him while Mindstorm psychologically confuses him. Black Noir is given the assurance by Buster at the end of the scene that he will have to face Soldier Boy. Meanwhile, there's Kimiko, who is still in shock from the fight to save Frenchie. She asks Annie to fetch some Compound V. When Annie slips into the Vought lab and takes a vial, she finds a note that lists the potentially harmful side effects of Temp V. Annie then tells Butcher over the phone that 3 to 5 doses of Temp V can be fatal and they can create brain damage. However, before Butcher can tell Huey, he adjusts their intentions and says they need to finish the job by themselves in his own threatening way. It seems Butcher has always been a man who was driven to see things through to the end, as seen by his current actions. But when Soldier Boy calls Homelander and unexpectedly reveals that he is Homelander's father, things become more tricky. Instead of starting with a typical TV show, the episode started with Homelander reuniting with Ryan. When Homelander discovers that Soldier Boy is his father, his reckless independence transforms into worry about leaving behind his legacy. The first step is to introduce Ryan to Grandpa Soldier Boy. With a promise to support him no matter what, Homelander tells his son in bringing up his activities against Stormfront. Meanwhile, it's obvious that tensions outside Vought Tower escalate between Homelander and Annie's supporters. Annie's disclosures on Instagram Live regarding Queen Maeve's kidnapping have led the Attorney General to get a search warrant. While Maeve is still being held captive and given drugs in her cell, both sides have amassed demonstrators outside Vought Tower. Despite Vought's attempts to move her, Maeve is able to escape. Soldier Boy is then put to sleep by Frenchie administering a dose of Russian nerve agent to Mother's Milk. Mother's Milk feels bad about pushing his kid over a safety line after she saw him strike Todd. Frenchie reassures him that he's the best man he knows, even yet he feels damaged. Now, Huey, Soldier Boy, and Billy Butcher prepare for their last mission to break into Vought building to kill Homelander and Noir. However, Soldier Boy now is hesitant to carry out the plan after discovering Homelander is actually his son. While traveling to Vought, Butcher made Huey unconscious and left him in a gas station probably to save him from Temp V's deathly side effects. With her unconditional love, Annie locates Huey and meets up with the other boys except Butcher. Maeve officially becomes a member of their group, and they make plans to stop Butcher and the Soldier Boys from destroying Homelander. Soldier Boy confides in Butcher about his problems with his father at the Flatiron Building headquarters. He talks about a movie called The Soldier Boy in which a young Soldier Boy finds out he has extraordinary abilities that connect with nature. Soldier Boy admits that he was actually born into an affluent family and developed his skills through artificial means. Early on, his father thought he was a letdown and charged him with lying to get abilities. Returning to Homelander and Vought Tower, Black Noir declares his plan to murder Soldier Boy. When Homelander reveals to Noir that Soldier Boy is his father, Noir is shocked and silently obeys him. Homelander displays an incredibly sensitive expression as a result of this news. His feelings go roller coaster as he kills Black Noir with a vicious punch to the chest that spills his intestines. Buster Beaver and his animal companion stand by while Black Noir draws his final breath. The two teams with Butcher and Soldier Boy, then Kimiko, Frenchie, Annie, Maeve, and Mother's Milk on the other hand met at Vought. Huey tries to talk Butcher out of it, but Maeve just snatches the sedative from Frenchie and throws it out the window. Butcher decides to put an end to the conflict once and for all by locking the resistance group within a safe. But of course, eventually, the boys manage to get out of the safe and plan their next course of action to get more Novichok. Frenchie then suggests a strategy to breach the Vought laboratory and produce a fresh batch. At Vought Studios, Maeve, Butcher, and Soldier Boy confront Soldier Boy. After introducing Soldier Boy to Ryan, Homelander tries to talk him out of getting into a fatal battle. As he starts to choke Homelander, Soldier Boy regrets missing so much and describes him as disappointing. Using his laser vision, Ryan steps in and launches Soldier Boy across the room. Ryan is countered by Soldier Boy, who throws him into a bookcase. Now finally realizing what must be done, Butcher and Maeve sense the threat. Butcher targets Soldier Boy with his laser vision. Soldier Boy is propelled through the glass and into the news studio when Homelander joins in. For a split second, Butcher and Homelander make eye contact and knows their surprising alliance. Butcher and Soldier Boy engage in close quarters fighting as well as eye laser battle. Mothers Milk and Annie enter the battle too, using her Starlight abilities. In a snap, Army Boy vanquishes Annie. Maeve approaches Homelander in the meantime, bringing up their common past, but he took out her eye in a gory way. Meanwhile, Kimiko and Frenchie break into the lab and are met with armed Vought guards. Kimiko quickly eliminates them while listening to a song. She shows off her newly acquired skill as she takes down a guard in time to the upbeat song's tempo. However, Soldier Boy quickly beat Kimiko as she makes her way to Vought Studios. On the other hand, Annie steadies herself and turns on her superpowers, absorbing energy from the newsroom. Annie receives electricity when Huey turns on every light in the control room. Annie gets up, exudes confidence and strength, and faces Soldier Boy. Soldier Boy is restrained, and the crew tries to use Novichok gas to neutralize him. All the more, Maeve charges at Soldier Boy and throws him out the window, saving everyone from the nuclear disaster that follows. Meanwhile, Ryan follows Homelander as he further develops Butcher and Homelander's dynamic. Here we learn that Butcher is told by a doctor that he only has 12 to 18 months to live until the lethal consequences of Temp V catch up with him. Mother's Milk then informs his daughter Janine about his family's horrible murder by Soldier Boy. It is also revealed that Maeve survived Soldier Boy's attack and is now helpless. So Maeve, feeling free, intends to relocate with Alana to a remote farm, out of Homelander's grasp. In order to guarantee Maeve's escape from Vought, Ashley removes the security tape showing Maeve being saved by the boys. With the placement of Soldier Boy in containment, Grace Mallory ends his brief but significant role. Annie also officially wore her Starlight outfit at the boys' HQ, stating her intention to live a true life. She accepts her position in a new team after multiple unofficial missions and team-ups. Lastly, when Homelander arrives at a gathering of Storm Chasers and his own supporters, he is met with their joyous applause. But just right after introducing Ryan to his supporters, he is struck by an object thrown by a protester. Homelander immediately unleashed his laser vision to quickly kill the protester. After being stunned for a moment, the crowd were left shocked. Then, urged by Homelander's smile, Todd opens his mouth to shout positively about him. This causes a flood of applause and cheers from the crowd. Ryan does the same with a hint of wanting to be like his father.